Hello team, so welcome back to the channel, and today is going to be the masterclass on Azure DevOps CICD pipelines. Okay, I'll teach you from scratch, so even if you do not have any experience with Azure DevOps, still you can easily create your CICD pipelines and build and deploy applications. Okay, so let me give you an overview of architecture that we are going to follow. Okay, so this is the architecture that we are going to follow, and the best part, we are going to use the single pipeline to deploy our application to dev environment as well as to prod environment, and that is be one of the most useful thing. And that's how things happen in companies also. Okay, and this will be done from scratch. Okay, also team, if you do not have any experience with Azure DevOps, no worries. After watching the video, you can easily create your own CI/CD pipelines and deploy your applications. Okay, so let us understand the prerequisite that we will be going to do. So before anything, what we need to do we need to set up our infrastructure, right? So for that, what I have set up, I have taken a virtual machine from AWS account. Okay, now that single virtual machine, I have taken off 8 GB of RAM. On that machine, I'm going to set up my SonarQube server, and I'm going to make that virtual machine as an agent in Azure DevOps. Okay, in case you are thinking what exactly is an agent in Azure DevOps, so like in Jenkins, we have master slave architecture where we use a virtual machine as a slave, and then we run our Jenkins pipelines on that slave. Same concept is used here. We will take a VM, configure it, and add it as an agent in our Azure DevOps platform. And afterwards, we can build our CI/CD pipelines on that agent. Okay. Okay. Now what you need to do, you need to make sure that you have created a free account on Microsoft Azure. Okay, and if you are doing this for the first time, the Microsoft will give you 14,000 INR rupees, using which you can create multiple resources in Azure cloud platform, right? So once you have registered, two things you need to do. First of all, you need to create two Kubernetes cluster, which I have, see, everything I'll be showing in video also, but first let us understand the flow, right? So we are going to create two Kubernetes clusters. One is going to be Dev Kubernetes cluster for Dev environment, and second will be Prod Kubernetes cluster for Prod environment. After that, we need to push our source code to Git repository, Azure Git repository. An example, you can see I have pushed my 10 microservice application on Azure repos. Okay. After that, we can start writing our pipeline. So this is the pipeline that I have written. An example of it you can see. Okay, and a pipeline, once you wrote the pipeline, you can run the pipeline, and you can see complete things were success. Okay, and basically in the pipeline, what we are doing, we are writing two kinds of stages. One is going to run the code quality check on our complete source code. Secondly, what we are going to do is build the Docker images of each microservice component and push those Docker images to Docker Hub repository. Okay, and that will be done through this pipeline itself. Once we have pushed our Docker images to Docker Hub repository with a specific tag, after that we can start to create our CD pipeline, basically, or release pipeline you can also say. Okay, so we can create a release pipeline where using which we are going to perform deployment to dev environment first. If everything goes correct there, if application is running fine, then we can move to prod deployment and we can deploy the application to prod environment. Okay, and trust me, it will be very easy. Even it seems this image may seem hard, but it's going to be very easy. Okay, so make sure to follow the video till end so that you don't miss any point, because everything I have shown from scratch. Okay. Okay, so with that being said, let's get started. So first of all, let's create a virtual machine. Okay, and I'll be taking Ubuntu machine version 20.04, and this I want to take as large, T2 large, because lots of things we are going to do within it. And let's create the key, and security group I have already created here. Okay, just to show you the ports that are open in my security group, let me just show you quickly. So if you are going to use the same security group, you can add open those ports. Okay, these are the ports I have generally open, and not all of them will be needed, but yeah, just for reference, in case you are getting confused, what ports we need to open. Okay, so once you have done that, next move to storage. So I'm gonna take 30 GB of storage, because after this session also I need to use the VM. Okay, so I have launched the instance. Let's provide a name as Azure agent. Okay, and it is in still pending status, so we can go to mobile extern, click on session, SSH, remote host, and the username. So we have created Ubuntu machine, so username will be Ubuntu, and we are going to connect to that machine using private SSH key, which is stored on my local. Okay, let me rename this also. Let me refresh just to check if it is up and running. Okay, it says running, so we can just double click on this and let's see. Okay, so the machine is up, right? So let's run the first few command, which is sudo apt, then we have update. Okay, okay, so this is done. Next thing what we need to have, since we have Java based components also, so we need to have Java installed on our system. So I'm going to install JDK 17 quickly. See, when you don't know the command, you can simply type Java and it will say command not found, but it will give you the commands using which you can install it. Okay, that's what I just did. Okay, also we are going to need Docker also, because I want to set up my SonarQube server on this agent itself, on this virtual machine. So for that we are going to need Docker, and it is also not available. So quickly let's set it up. And see, in order to make sure that we are able to like run Docker commands, if you use this command sudo chmod 666 Docker socket, so this will ensure that all the users on this virtual machine will be having access to run the Docker commands. Okay, so let me run that. But in case if you are looking to make sure that only specific user have access, you can go in this format: sudo usermod hyphen small a g docker is the group name of Docker, and here you can provide the user to which you want to provide the access to run Docker commands. But I'll be going with this. Okay, so let's quickly set up SonarQube server. Now, one concept that you need to understand right now is the concept of community branch plugin in SonarQube. So by default, there are two versions of SonarQube available, which is one is the community version, which is free, and one is the developer version. One of the main differences between these two versions is that in developer version, you can perform the analysis on any of the all of the branches of your repository. While with community version of SonarQube, you are supposed to perform analysis only on the master or the main branch. Okay. So in order to solve this problem, that because if I have like multiple branches in my repository, I want to run the analysis on most of the branches or multiple branches. Okay. So in order to make sure that we can do this task with help of community editions of SonarQube, we can install a third-party plugin, which is known as community branch plugin. Okay. So instead of like setting up separate SonarQube server and installing plugin separately, what I try to do is take a version of SonarQube that is already having that plugin installed. So if you search this community branch plugin SonarQube, the first GitHub repository that comes, it contains a Docker image which has that plugin installed by default. This is made by the developer of the plugin. Okay, and they have made this Docker image of SonarQube, which is already installed with community branch plugin. So I'm going to use this Docker image. So Docker run -d -p port 9000. Okay, and then the image name. So this is the SonarQube image which I am going to use, because I want to use the feature of community branch plugin and make sure that I'm able to run the SonarQube analysis on all different branches. I'll show you how. Okay, so let it complete. Okay, so yeah, SonarQube server has been set up. We can quickly check that. I can go here, 9000. It will take little bit of time to get up, I guess. Yes, so it is up now, right? and it is latest version, so you will see little bit different version, different kind of SonarQube. So do not worry. Okay. Yeah, it's taking a little bit of time to get started. So let's just wait for it. Okay, rest I think we have already set up these things. Next we can go ahead and set up our Azure platform. Okay, so if you are doing this for the first time, what you need to do, you can go on Google, search on Azure sign up. Okay, and the page that comes up, so here you see this option, start your free account. You can click here. So once you are on this page, next what you need to do is register yourself using your debit card or like other details like email address and all those things. So once you register completely, you will get 14,000 INR using which you can provision resources. Okay. Okay, so SonarQube is set up. Let me quickly configure this. See, as soon as I will log in, it will let me show you what it will give. Aditya. You see here, installation of plugins, because we are installed a specific version of SonarQube that has a third-party plugin installed, community branch plugin. So that's why it's giving. I can click on I understand the risk. Okay. Now you can see this is a latest version of SonarQube and this is how it looks, right? Okay, coming back here. So here, as you can see, like once you register, you will get the resources, and once registration is complete, you need to go on this page, portal.azure.com. So this is the page on which you can provision your resources. Okay, by resources I mean if you want to create Azure VM, Azure Kubernetes cluster, Azure like function, Azure app, everything with respect to Azure, if you want to provision, you can go on this site, log in with your account, and then you can provision. So let me show you how to do that. Okay team, so as you can see, I have logged in, right? So as soon as you log into your portal.azure.com, you can see so there are so many different services. So whichever service you want to provision, you can simply go here. Let's say like virtual machine. See, option is visible. Now I can simply click on create and start creation of virtual machine, right? Let's say I want to create Kubernetes services, right? Kubernetes cluster I want to create. So I can search here, find here, and then I can start to create it. Okay. Okay. So this is set up. Now, next thing what we need to do is set up our Azure DevOps platform. Okay. So for that, what you need to do, you need to go into search and search Azure DevOps. Now you see this first option, Azure DevOps Organizations. So click on this. And this page will open, and on left down side you have this option, My Azure DevOps Organization. So click on that as well. And let's wait for it to come up. Click on continue. Okay. So as of now, we don't have any organization. Okay. Organization is the specific group, you can say, where you are going to create all your Azure DevOps project. You'll be creating your pipelines and everything. And you can create multiple organizations actually for free. So let's click on create new organization. I don't want to receive any information. Okay. And here you can provide a organization name, whichever you want to give. Okay. So let's say I will give the organization name as Master Class 28 Jan. Okay, and location you are going to select the nearest to your. Okay, and let's provide the captcha and click on continue. Now let's wait for it to create our organization. I'll explain everything bit by bit. Okay, meanwhile what we can do, we can quickly go here and we can start creation of Kubernetes cluster. Okay, so here in resource group, one will be available by default, but if you want to create new one, that's fine. But yeah, I'll just go with the one already available. And cluster details, so I'll be taking the dev or test version. So basically it is a very small cluster. Okay, so I can take that, and let's provide the cluster name. Okay, rest everything just leave it as it is. Click on next. Here agent pool. So basically the smallest agent pool that it will be able to support properly. Let me show you which one. It's going to be B2S. Okay. It is very small, but it will work fine for deployment of application. And this will cost very less. Okay. Click on update and click on next. Here, yeah, just leave the things as they are. Click on next. I'll be disabled. It's fine. Next. Azure monitor I have just turned off because I don't need it. Click on next. Next. And it will validate. So validation will happen, and once validation is successful, that means you can start working with your, you can start to create the cluster. Okay, but creation of cluster, it takes quite a lot of time. Okay, so verification was fine, and we have used very minimal resources to create our cluster. Okay, now it is happening, right? It has started to creation of this cluster has been started, right? Now let's go back to our organization. So we just created new organization. If I refresh here, we should be able to see our organization that we just created, right? This one, Masterclass 28 Jan. Now here, this is the organization page of Azure DevOps. Okay, and basically multiple projects you can create here. For example, let's say 10 microservice application, right? And by default, your project is going to be private as a part of best practice. So click on create project. Okay. And as soon as the project gets created, it will take us inside the project. So now we are inside the project. In order to go back to the organization page, you can click on this Masterclass 28 Jan, right? And here you see this option, new organization. That's what I was saying, multiple organization you can create. It's very easy, right? So let's create another project just for knowledge. What options do we get? Let's say Java-app. In advance, we set like what kind of version control we want. So by default, just go for get create. Okay. Now you can understand about the Azure DevOps organization, what exactly it is. It gives you a whole platform where you can create your projects, and you can start writing pipelines, store your source code and everything, right? Okay. Now you see this option, organization settings, left side, right? So basically whatever settings you are going to needing for this management of this organization, you can perform those here. Okay, basic settings I'll just go over over this. So these are like overview. Here you can delete organization, change the owner of the organization, right? Then we have projects. Whatever project you are having, you can see them here. Visibility private. Okay, then we have user. If you want to give access to your organization, you can add those users here. Okay, then we have other things like billing, global notification. Okay, coming to this policies. So these are by default policies like on and off. Whichever you want to use as per your own requirement, you can turn them on, off or off. For example, by default, Azure DevOps does not give you the access to does not allow you to add external guest. Okay, external guest access. So you can just turn it on, and now you can add any external person also. Okay, coming to next, we have permissions. So here you can decide what kind of permission you want to give to users, right? There will be some read only users, some will be only specific a kind of access. So you can just understand what these groups define. You can understand their description here. Okay, based on that you can decide what kind of permission you want to give to users. Boards. So in normal DevOps we have a ticketing tool like Jira, right? Similar to that, inside Azure DevOps we have a specific tool known as boards. Board is similar to Jira, where we can create our tickets, track the work progress and everything. And you can select here what kind of process you want to follow in that boards. By default is basic, and another one agile. In general, maximum agile or scrum is usually followed everywhere. Okay. Coming to next, we have pipelines. So basically, as I was saying, that we can add a virtual machine as a slave in Jenkins or add as an agent in Azure DevOps. So this is the location where you can create agent pools. What exactly it is? It is nothing more than just a group inside which we can add agents. Let me show you how to do that. Also, we are doing this on organization level. So if I add a VM on organization level, that means all other projects may have access to that agent. Okay, but if you want your agent to be used only in a single project, on project level you can do that. Add a VM as an agent. Let me show you that as well. For example, I want that only this application should be, this project should be having access to the any agent that we add. So we can go to project settings. Okay. We have agent pools. Okay. So now you can add there, but I'm going to add it on organization level. So click on add pool. Self-hosted, that means we are going to use our own VM. Okay. Name, let's say Aditya, simple. Okay. And you can see this option come auto provision this agent pool in all projects. That is the best part. Okay. Click on create. So now we have created a group. Now we need to add the VM inside this agent. Like we need to add our VM as an agent inside this group. Okay. So we'll come back to that, but let's see other settings. Okay. Then we have this under pipelines, we have this settings. Okay. You see last these two options, disable creation of a classic build pipelines and disable creation of classic release pipelines. Make sure you are turning them off because we are going to need them. We are going to create our pipeline in a classic manner. And that is the most easy way to create the pipeline. Okay. Then we have some other things like repos, artifact storage, those kind of information. If you want, you can just go through them to understand some more information about those. Okay. Okay. Now coming back to your organization, we can go to our project. This is the project. Now you on left side, you see these options: overview, boards, repos, pipelines, test plans, and artifacts. So let me explain you one by one. Overview, as the name suggests, it gives you overview about the project. For example, this here in this section, you will get the README part. Okay. And in this section, you will get the project statistics, like how many builds are successful, how many builds are failing, those kind of information. Okay. Here members, how many people are part of this project, you can get that information here. Then we have boards. So as I explained, boards is similar to like a ticketing tool where you can create task, issue, epics, all those things, create them. For example, let's say creating a task. Okay. So in task, we need to provide some title key, add new image. Okay. This is a specific task. Some description will be there. Right. Let me add that as well. And it will be assigned to a specific user. So the reason for that doing this kind of things so that managers and other team members can track the progress, what something is who like people who are, they are working on what, those kind of things, and what is the progress. Okay. So this is like the ticketing tool, and you can just understand basically it's like similar to Jira. You can create tickets and you can create tasks and assign to users who will be working on them. It is easier to track the work progress. Okay. Then we have repos. Repos, as I mentioned, that Azure also follows the Git only, so you can get the Git command. So all the Git commands that you have, Git add, Git push, Git commit, will be working here. Okay. If you want to push your source code on Azure repo, you can simply click on generate Git credentials. It will give you the username and password which you can use. Or else, if your project is on some other location, you can simply import it. For example, my project is on GitHub, right? And it is public, so I can simply get the URL, paste here. Okay. But in case your project is private, you need to use this required authentication, provide the username and the personal access token. Just to let you know quickly, where can you generate the personal access token? Go to your GitHub account, go to this user, go to settings. At the end, you will find this option, developer settings. Then we have a personal access token, tokens classic, and you can here generate a new token. Okay. But yeah, as I don't need to generate because my repository is already public. So since public repository, simply click on import. Now what it's going to do is directly import the repository here. Okay. And with respect to like a repository, all these options you see, pull request, tags, branches, all those things, basic things. Okay. You can see imported successful. Now if I click on repos, we can see our source code available here along with all the branches, right? So it's good. Coming to next one. So next we have pipelines. So here we can create CI and CD pipelines. Generally, we create the CI pipeline here and CD pipeline in releases. This is the best practice you can consider, okay, which we are going to do in a minute. Then we have test plans. So when you have like a huge amount of test cases, you need to execute, you need to get reports. So those tasks are getting done here. Okay. Here you can get the reports, progress report, test plans and runs, how many tests are run, so and so. Okay, just basic understanding you should have as of now. But generally, not very much people use this option. Then we have artifacts. You know, when I was teaching 30 days of DevOps, I explained you that we have Nexus repository where we can push our artifacts. Artifacts are nothing but byproducts we get when we build our application, right? Jar file, war file, right? In case of Java, then in case of like .NET based application, we may get Nugget packages, Node.js, something else like that, right? So if you want to like push those artifacts to artifact repository in Azure DevOps, click on connect to feed, click on the type of project you have, and you can get these steps which you need to follow in order to push it. Okay. Now feed here basically refers to artifact repository feed. For example, if I need to create a specific artifact repository, I can click on create feed, check these options, select the options, okay, and then I can use them. Okay, so this is the basic overview of Azure DevOps platform, right? Now let us start creation of our pipelines. So we have the source code ready, right? Okay, before that, as I mentioned, we will be adding our agent, adding our VM as an agent. And that, as I mentioned, I'm going to do it on organization level so that all the projects in my organization may have access to that. Okay. So group we have already created, group or pool you can say, right? Let's click on agent. As of now, no agent is there. So we'll click on new agent, click on Linux. So what kind of machine we are having? Linux machine. First thing that we need to do is download this package, which contains all the packages for making the VM as an agent. Okay. So I will copy the URL, go back here. Let's run the command as wget to download that package here. So package is getting downloaded. Next command is to create a directory with the name my agent and going inside that directory. So let's do that. Next step is to extract the package that we just downloaded, right? All the steps are there itself. tar -zxvf and name of the package, right? In my case, it's going to be vsts. That's what we have downloaded, vsts, right? So we have extracted, and now I will show you what are the things that are existing in this package. It contains certain shell scripts. You can see config.sh, environment.sh, run.sh. Okay. So what we need to now, in order to make sure that this VM becomes an agent, we will go back here and we need to run this script config.sh, which is the script for performing the configuration so that this VM can become an Azure agent, right? Click here. And you can see Azure pipelines. Now here we need to start the configuration. Server URL. So server URL we are going to put till our organization name. So let me copy that. Okay. Now this is the server URL. Authentication type, press enter for PAT. Obviously we are going to use the personal access token. It is asking for personal access token. Now where do we generate? For that, on your page, you will see this option, user settings, on right side. Click on that. Go at the end, you see second last option, personal access token. So click on that. Click on new token. Let's provide a name as token-1. Okay. So here you can select the expiration, like usually people set the expiration to 90 days or 1 year like that. And here you can set the scope. So if you are going to use the token for some specific task, you can decide here, like packaging if you want to do, test management, release, like that. But generally I will just go with full access so that I can use the same token everywhere in my project. Okay. Okay. So click on create. Now we have the token ready, but make sure that you are copying this token somewhere because you'll be needing this token. Okay. So I have copied and I'm going to paste this token here also. Now you can see it says connecting to server. Now it is asking for the agent pool name. So let me quickly check my agent pool name. If I go back to organization settings, at the end we have agent pools. We have the agent pool name as Aditya, right? So I will provide the same name. Agent name, now it is asking. So I can just provide name as agent-1. Okay. Click enter. Now you can see it says successfully added the agent. Okay. And now it is asking enter work folder. So this folder is going to be the one where complete workspaces of our projects will be stored. So I can simply and the folder getting created with the name underscore work. So I'm fine with that. I can simply click on enter. Now let's see. Okay. So now we have added the VM as an agent, but if I open this pool, click on agent, you can see new agent is visible, but option you see it is showing offline. That means it has not yet started. So in order to start the agent, we need to run one small shell script. You see this is the shell script that we need to run in order to start the agent. So I can put ./run.sh and this will start the agent, and let's wait for it. You can see it is connected and it is waiting for any new jobs to come so that it can start to build, right? And here also we can see the status as online, right? Okay. Now what we need to do, we can start writing our pipeline, obviously. So let's go inside our project, click on pipelines. Also one more thing, since we have Java based like a microservice also uh, in our project, so one small thing we need to do. So I'll go to organization settings. Okay, again go to agent pools, Aditya agent. So let's say that there is a specific capability or a specific demand that your project requires, and you have installed that tool on your agent. So in order to make sure that it is available to the pipeline, what we do, we will click on add near new capability. For example, I will write Java value will be true. That means Java is existing on this VM. Okay. This is done. Go back to here and now let us create our pipelines. Click on create pipeline and now you see there are so many options. You can create YAML pipeline as well as classic editor. Classic editor is much easier as compared to any other kind of pipeline. Branch we are going to use is latest. Meanwhile, we can go here. You can see deployment is complete. Great. Click on go to resource. Okay. And if I go to service and ingresses, we can see the default files, default services are available here. Okay. Okay. So now let us start writing our pipeline. So for now, let's start with the empty job. Okay. Okay. And here we can configure our agent pool, which is going to be Aditya here. Then we have this option. Yeah, here we have configured already our repository which we want to use and the branch. Then we have agent job 1. Here also we are going to select our own pool which we have configured. You might be thinking why these other options are available. So previously, long ago, like past before, I think 2 years ago, you can get free Azure agents to run your jobs from Microsoft. But afterwards, they have stopped giving free agents because proper like big amount of misuse was happening. So they have stopped giving. Okay. Now let me save this many part. Okay. Now first step that I want to add in my pipeline is going to be SonarQube analysis. Okay, so to performing the SonarQube analysis, what I need to do is go to this option marketplace. You remember in Jenkins we used to when we wanted to use a third-party tool like SonarQube or anything else, we used to install their plugin. Similarly, we can install in Azure DevOps also in marketplace. As soon as I search Sonar, we can get this option, right? So I can install this extension, click on get it free. Let's wait for it. Okay. So it will load the organization, whatever organization you have created, they will all appear here. So as of now, just only one organization is added. So we will see that. Click on install and that specific the SonarQube extension will be added to your organization. Now we can click on proceed to organization. Go back to the pipeline and we can edit our existing pipeline. So now I can click on this plus icon and here we can search Sonar. By default, you see only 2 options is visible, but let me refresh. Now you see all the options are visible, right? So first we are going to add this stage, prepare analysis on SonarQube, and after that this stage. Okay. So first we need to provide the SonarQube server endpoint. By that we mean to say that we need to provide the SonarQube server URL along with the credentials. So we can click on new server URL. So what I can do, I can copy the server URL this much, add here, and the token, right? So let us generate the token. For that we can go to administration, security, users, tokens. Let's provide any name, generate. So we have the token ready. We can provide it here. Okay. And name we can provide as sonar, right? Sonar dash con, and grant access permission to all the pipelines in this project. Correct. Click on save. So this is selected. Now choose the way you want to run the analysis. So three options available. We are going to go with standalone scanner. The reason that we did not select these two options because this is specifically for .NET and this is specifically for Maven or Gradle. While this one can be used for all different kind of projects as well as different programming language based projects. Okay. And here. So usually people used to provide their SonarQube configuration in a separate file known as Sonar project properties, but we can directly provide here manual provide configuration project key. So let's say I will provide the project key as micro service application. Okay, I can put 10 also. Same name I can provide to project name. Version will be this. Sources. So what exactly I want to scan in our project is the SRC folder. Why? Because inside the SRC folder, all the different like microservice components exist. So we can perform the analysis there. One more thing, since I mentioned, okay, we need to, since we have Java based projects also, so I need to add this part, sonar.java.binaries. Okay, equal to the path of the binaries files. I'll just put a dot. And secondly, one more thing that we need to put, for which we have installed a specific version of SonarQube. So now I can perform analysis on any branch. So I can type sonar dot branch dot name. Generally, this option, this argument you can use only with developer version. But since we have installed a specific version of SonarQube that has that community branch plugin, so now we can use this option as well. And I'm going to perform the analysis on latest branch only. Okay, this is spelling wrong. Let me quickly correct it. Sonar.branch.name equal to latest. Sonar.java.binary is fine, right? Coming to next step, we have this option. We will just select the use Java home. Okay, so this task is done. Now let me save this. Now what we are going to do is create our Docker stages. Okay, so let me search here Docker. You can see how easy it is. Everything comes very easily. You simply need to configure it, right? And let me go to our repository also so that I can see the different files. I will select the latest branch. Okay. So let us start configuration. So first component we have microservice add service, right? Select the name as add service and you see I have selected then a task which contains both the task, both the command build and push. That means first it will build the image and it will push it. Now talking about container registry, right? So what we need to do, we need to provide the Docker credentials of our Docker Hub. So click on next and sorry new, and here you see three options. So in case you are going to use Azure Container Registry or Docker Hub, that version you need to select. So I'm using Docker Hub, so I'll provide the username and password. URL has been taken by default. Docker ID is going to be Adi Jaiswal and Docker password will be something else. Let me just write it again. Let's verify. So that means username credentials are correct, right? Let's provide a name to this our service connection docker-con. Service connection is basically nothing, just it's a credential, a way of like providing credentials to your pipeline. So we have saved this as well. Okay, select it, container repository. So we need to write in this format, use username slash, let me provide this name, add service, right? Then Docker file, we need to select the Docker file. In my case, it's going to be here, selected, and tags I'm just going with latest, right? One component done. Now we need to add 9 more component. Okay. Usually, like what happens when you like add the Docker step for the first time, it will give you some error. But just try to save this. Okay, you see this error. Nothing else I did, right? So I will just, what I will do, I'll just refresh it and quickly add the Docker stage again. No issues, not a big thing. Docker add service. This already be added. Container repository is going to be adi jaiswal / add service, right? And Docker file location, it is, you need to manually provide the location because there are multiple Docker files in the project. Okay, tags is going to be latest. Okay, let's create for others. Second, we have cart service. And Docker file will be inside the cart service. Inside src, we have Docker file, right? Let's create this third one, which is going to be checkout service. I'll tell you the benefit of adding separately, because let's say in microservice based application, we do not need to build all of those, right? So let's say I just wanted to build add service. What I can do, I can right click here, disable. Now if I run this pipeline, these two stages will run, but cart service won't run. So that is one of the benefits of using this classic pipelines. It is easier to disable certain tasks and we can move ahead with the previous one. Checkout service, then Docker file, checkout service. This is here. We have Docker file here, right? Let's quickly create the rest of them. Currency service. And Docker file location we have here. Next up we have email service. These are different microservice component team. So yes, we want to build each of them separately. And I just explained the reason also, what benefit does it provide, because if I want to just build a specific component, I can build it without causing an issue or rebuilding others also. So it's beneficial. After email service, we have front end. Now you will see there are two front end microservice components here. One is front end, one is front end external. So the main difference between them, one is using node port as the service and one is using load balancer, but we are going to use load balancer to access the application. Got it? We have Docker file here. And yes, then we have front end, sorry, there will be two front end, but now this is load generator. See, I have not yet run this pipeline, so I'm just configuring it for the first time. And if any issue comes, we will fix it, right? Here we will select the payment service Docker file. And next up we have product catalog service. This configuration that we are doing, it requires just one-time configuration, because once we have configured, next time we can just disable other task and we can build our task, right? The required ones. After after we have recommendation service. 10 microservice components are there, so obviously it's going to be taking a little bit of time to configure everything. But yeah, I hope you people are still here. Docker file. And one last component we have, which is shipping service. Okay, so we have added all of those. Let us save this, and we can click on queue so that the pipeline gets started. And let us start so that we can at least be assured that it's going well. Okay, so it has started, and SonarQube analysis is running. So let it be. Meanwhile, we can go here and let us try to create another Kubernetes cluster, which is going to be a prod version. Let me do this. Name will be Aditya-K8-prod. And the VM I'm going to use B2S. I'm not sure if I have this amount of permission to create multiple cluster. Okay, but let's see. If you are able to create, it's fine. We can see the deployment in two environments, how we can do using a single pipeline. And seeing the status, yeah, I think this is fine. We can click on create and let's see if it is able to create the second cluster or not. First cluster we have created, right? Meanwhile, SonarQube analysis is also done. And if I scroll at the end, we should be able to see, yes, so execution success, and we are able to see the reports here. Great. Now it's building the Docker images, and since we are doing it for the first time, so it's going to build. It will take quite some amount of time because there are multiple layers, like 30 layers in each single Docker image, and we have around 10 Docker images. So yeah, let's wait for it to complete. Once it completes, I'll be back. This will save everyone's time, I guess. Okay, team. So the pipeline is almost completed, I guess. Few stages are still pending. Okay, we are in product catalog service. Okay, so let's wait for it. Meanwhile, let me show you how we can create our release pipelines. Okay, and also we can see the status. Great. So we have created two clusters. Okay, one is this one and one is this one. So let us create our release pipelines quickly. You can click on new pipeline. Let's create empty job. Okay, talking about artifacts, so we are going to use the YAML file to deploy the application, right? So for that we can select this option, Azure repo, select the project, repository, and the specific branch where I have stored. So I have stored my YAML files on latest branch. Okay, and yeah, click on add. Now you see this option, a pre-deployment condition. So if I open this, you can see here, either you want to make it triggered so that after this, like automatically this will be started. But what I want to make it manual. Okay, and here there are approvals in case you want that release deployment should not be happening without any approval, so that you can set it up here. Okay, here let's provide the name to dev deployment. Okay, and let's add one more stage, empty stage. Disable this to manual, and let's provide the name to prod deployment. Okay, okay, and let me save this. So pipeline is almost completed. Meanwhile, what I want to show you, if I go to Docker Hub repository, we can see the latest changes. Whatever Docker images we have pushed, we can see the changes here. You can see recommendation service pushed less than minute ago, 1 minute ago, 2 minutes ago, like that. So like we are able to push our Docker images fine. Okay, last Docker image is getting pushed. Once it is done, then we can focus here. Meanwhile, yes. So here also we are going to select our own agent, this one, and see, first of all, we are going to run the kubectl commands, right? So we need to make sure that kubectl is installed on our machine. So we are going to add this. Okay, and second task that we are going to add is also kubectl. This is going to be this one, kubectl. Okay, and here talking about service connection, so we need to provide the authentication basically to the Kubernetes cluster that we have created, right? So click on new, and by default with your Azure subscription it will understand which cluster to use. Here we have two, so first is Dev, so we will select it the Dev cluster, and namespace will be default only. We are going to use the cluster admins, and connection name will be Dev K8 connection. Okay, grant access, save. So it is setting up the connection, and here our pipeline is completed, and it took total 17 minutes, right? Obviously we are doing it for the first time, so it will take yeah, this amount of time. Okay, so this is done, and namespace, see, as of now we are not deploying to different namespace, we are just deploying it to default one. Command we can select apply configuration, so path of the file we need to provide, which file we want to use for deployment. So we have this deployment that service file. Okay, select this, and let's change the name also, dev deployment. Okay, save this. Going back to release, we have this one, right? We can edit this. So in dev deployment we have added, let's add in prod also. Select our own agent. First is going to be installation of tool installer. Okay, and after that apply command we need to run, so that we can do with using kubectl. Okay, and service connection is going to be same. Sorry. Okay, service connection we have added. Where is the cluster option? Okay, we can create a new cluster or a new service connection. Okay. Okay, yeah, cluster we can select here. So previously we selected this one, this was for dev, and this is for prod. So prod cluster we have selected now. Namespace going to be default here, and let's provide the name as prod k8 con, right? Click on this, click on save. So this is for like for the prod deployment we can select. One second, stay. Let me save these changes, and so yeah, this changes, this we can change to dev dash prod deployment. Okay, now our CI pipeline completed, and we have the CD pipeline, and CD pipeline also we have added all the required tasks, right? So let's try deploying the application to dev deployment, dev environment first. Click on create, click on release one. You see none of them are automatically getting deployed, because deployment should be done like manual, it's better in that way. So we can click on deploy. Okay, so let's wait for it. Once this is completed, once we can verify the changes, then we can start the prod deployment. Okay, let's wait for it. So first it is going to install the kubectl on our machine. And this is the YAML file using which it is supposed to deploy the application, 10 microservice application on Kubernetes cluster. Okay, so deployment completed. We can just see the logs just to be sure. Kubectl apply, yeah, deployment is completed. Great. Quickly we can go to our dev environment, dev cluster. Okay, click on workload. So if you just deployed it, it may possible that some of the resources may not be available instantly. Okay, but one by one we are going to refresh, and you can see one by one they are getting deployed because there are so many components. So it's take little bit of time for all the components to be up, right? Two components are still down. Let's refresh. One component is waiting. So let's wait for this to complete it. So once we verify that, okay, dev environment deployment is completed successfully, afterwards what we can do is do the prod deployment. Okay, so it's better to always go with the deployment on dev environment first, and after that. Okay, let me check if there is any issue with respect to this or not. Events. Okay, scale up is fine only. Let's go back here. Let me refresh one more time. Okay, so now you can see all the components are up and working, right? Now we can go to services. So in services, you see this, there are two front end. One is the front end with node port, one is the front end with load balancer. So if I want to access my application using a third party URL, which is a like separate IP address, we should be using service type as load balancer. That's why this is coming. Click on this and let's see if our application is up and running. Great. So application is up and running. That means deployment to dev environment is successful, right? So now we can go ahead and deploy the application to prod environment as well. So for that, I can simply click on deploy and let's wait for it. I'm just concerned about, since we already installed this tool with using that dev deployment. So let's see what happens now. Okay, yeah, this was successful. It's fine. Deployment is also successful. We can verify everything by going to the logs. Okay, 1 second. Have you not configured this properly or what? Okay, we have not configured this. Let me configure the prod deployment. Namespace is going to be default. Command we want to use the apply, right? And we are going to use our YAML file for deployment, which is this one. Let's save this and we can click on the deploy part. You can see attempt is second. This is like, Azure DevOps platform. It has very user-friendly UI and it's like very easier to work with. Okay, let's wait. You can see the status here itself, right? Now it is running the command to do the deployment. So for dev environment, it's running fine, right? Let's open the Kubernetes cluster for prod environment. We can open, and here also everything should be fine. There should be the default ones available by now. So slowly, all these are getting up. Yeah, this is done. So one by one, like as soon as we refresh, it will slowly, all the components will be getting up. So let's wait for this. Let me just check the, okay, 2 hours I have access. Great. Actually, I'm using the Code Cloud Azure DevOps platform. So it's like available for like 3 hours general. So just waiting for this. Okay. We can go here, refresh. This is the prod cluster, right? Okay, add service is still in waiting. So let's wait for this. I can go open the pod. I can go to events and there I can see the status. If any issue is there, we will be able to know here. Okay. So replica set has been scaled up and yeah, so it's fine only. Let me refresh one more time. Okay, so it's up. Now we can go to service and ingress. Okay, this part is pending. Let me refresh. Okay, we have the IP address. Now note down, this is the different IP address and this is a different IP address. So now this application is running on dev environment, right? On this with the 144 IP address, and this is running on a different IP address. This is the prod environment, right? So in this way, we can do the deployment using a single pipeline to two different environments. You can see prod deployment and dev deployment we have done, right? So I hope this video helped you learn something and I hope you can practice this. If you are facing any issue, you can ping me in Telegram Okay, I'll try to make a documentation also for this, which I'll put in Telegram. Also, team, for those who are looking for training sessions, you can join the batch 3, which is going on. You can just go through the syllabus. We are covering everything in detail. Okay, Nexus, like every tool that you need to have, we are covering it. Simple as that. In addition to that, we are covering multiple corporate projects as well. So yeah, if you want to learn all those things, you can just check it out. Link will be given to you. Obviously, you can just simply go to devopsshack.com and search for batch 3. You can find this. Okay. So I hope this video was useful. You got to learn something today. And yeah, thanks for watching and have a nice day.